Welcome back. If you watched our first video, it's nice to have you back. If not, I suggest you watch the first one of me actually making a lava lamp before watching this one, as this really is a follow-on video to that one. So first of all, a reminder of who I am. I'm Robert Alford, a scientist working in the UK nuclear industry. Well, first of all, after that first video, we got lots of questions asking about what actually is going on in the reaction. That's exactly what I expected, so let's start off with that. So let's first of all talk through the ingredients. So we had the glass with the vinegar in. Now, vinegar is actually a dilute solution of acetic acid. And to that, I added a colour pigment. In this case, it was food colouring. And then in the glass, which you can see on the screen now, we had baking powder, and baking powder is sodium bicarbonate, so that's a carbonate, which is in the base of the glass, that white powder at the bottom. Then we added oil on top of this white powder, on top of the baking powder, and when we added it, a bit of trapped air came out, but there was no reaction at all at this stage. So now, as you can see on the screen now, when I added the vinegar and food colouring, the vinegar is actually more dense than the oil, so it sinks through the oil and reaches the baking powder. So now we effectively have a heterogeneous mixture of liquids. So it's by heterogeneous, I mean not homogeneous in terms of mixed. So you've got the layer of dilute acetic acid, which is mixing with the baking powder, sat underneath that oil. So now the reaction starts. So the vinegar, which as I mentioned is a dilute form of acetic acid, reacts with the sodium bicarbonate, so the carbonate, and forms carbon dioxide, which is making this lava lamp effect. So you may have made volcanoes when you were younger. So obviously you put a little bit of baking powder in, or the vinegar onto the baking powder, and you get that amazing explosion. Exact same reaction. So let's just pause for a second here and look at the chemistry of what is happening here. So as you can see on the screen, I put a reaction up for you now. So we've got baking soda, so that's sodium bicarbonate, and vinegar, that's the acetic acid you can see there. And this then generates the carbon dioxide gas, which is used, as I mentioned as well, in the volcanoes. So let's just look at this again. Sodium bicarbonate plus acetic acid forms sodium acetate and carbon dioxide and water. Well, actually, although that is correct, it's actually a two-part reaction. First, there is just a displacement reaction, so in which the acetic acid in the vinegar reacts with the sodium bicarbonate to form sodium acetate and carbonic acid. Now, this carbonic acid is unstable and therefore undergoes decomposition, which produces the carbon dioxide and water. So, going back to the reaction, so the carbon dioxide rises as the bubbles of gas with a sort of a liquid film around it, which gives it that colour pigment. And as this gas is lighter than the water and the oil, it rises up through the oil, and when it reaches the top, the sort of CO2, it pops, the CO2 obviously comes out the glass, and that sort of water, the bubble was entrapped within, then falls back down, and we get the sort of lava lamp effect. And also some bubbles don't kind of make it quite to the top, and they kind of just go round a bit and eventually go up to the top. So this is creating that sort of lava lamp effect, rising up, sinking back to the bottom, and then we get that awesome effect like you would have seen in your own sort of main lava lamps. So now we've gone through the science, you probably want to hear a bit more about me. So I mentioned in the last video, I went to Loughborough University. So I always had a passion for science and specifically chemistry, but I was very keen after a talk we had at school to really understand more about this idea of sort of colliding chemistry, colliding elements and making energy. So I went off to Loughborough University, where at the time you could study radiochemistry at undergraduate level, and I then kind of studied it more there, passion grew, and then I got a job with the National Nuclear Laboratory in 2012. And over the last few years, I've moved through various roles. Started off in Warrington, then did some time in Workington, which is in West Cumbria. Then on the actual Sellafield site, which is our main legacy site for the nuclear industry. That is where we pioneered nuclear power on a civil sort of stage for the world. So lots of decommissioning activities there and waste management. and I'm currently on secondment to the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, which effectively is in charge of all the nuclear estates from the Magnox, Sellafield, and Dounreay and beyond. So really good experience this year, and I think the first few years really of my career have been very much about getting the exposure in the industry, and I've been very lucky to get that. But also I'm very keen, which is why I'm sat here today, to really be feeding stuff into the next generation, and I'm really keen to inspire and engage young people, which is where my work with the Young Generation Network comes in, and that's very much about working with younger people to really engage them into what the nuclear industry is about. So now I didn't go through the same process obviously as what you're going through now with sort of coronavirus and having to work from home. And we've had the opportunity to speak to Catherine Eve, who is a director at the Centre for Leadership Performance. Now Catherine is going to be bringing us different excerpts over the coming months, along with other experts. And today Catherine is going to be offering some advice about what you can do at this time. So we understand it's really quite a challenging and anxious time for you. And Catherine, as she says in this video in a minute, can't offer any advice about whether you should be going to university or not. But Catherine can support you with how yourselves, or sort of in this sort of late teenage years, really can prepare for forms of online recruitment, be that sort of apprenticeships, university application sort of interviews, or even jobs. So I'm going to hand over to Catherine now, who is interviewed by Sophie. So that's the next few minutes, and I'll be back after she has spoken to wrap the video up. So enjoy hearing from Catherine.
Yeah. And what do you think will be the biggest challenges for young people going forwards, and employers, in terms of recruitment and thinking about their future?
I think to tie anything down to the biggest challenges, I don't ever like those questions, you know, name your top 10 songs or your top 10 films. Yeah, at the moment, I think it's the current struggle is uncertainty from everybody. You know, it's uncertainty. I feel uncertain. I feel uncertain what the right thing is to do, or I feel uncertain about what's going to happen. So I think actually maybe one key thing is just learning a better way to manage uncertainty. You know, whether that's because I think it's a personal skill set, you know, to be more comfortable with uncertainty, recognise it in yourself and manage it in a different way. And as an organisation, I've read a lot of interesting articles about, managing risk and return, you know, what does return look like? Almost like it being a new muscle that we need to flex, because this is new ground. And I think that, as individuals, as teams, and as organisations, we need to learn to cope better with that uncertainty. And that's about resilience, isn't it? That's about us all being more resilient at different levels. And I think that's something that, again, we can help with. I think if that's a key challenge, then that's something that we need as the centre to be responding to.
Yeah. Have you seen a difference in the way that, and I'm presuming the answer is yes, but have you seen a difference in the way that people are interacting with the centre now, in terms of young people, but also businesses? Are they asking for slightly different things or support in different areas?
Yeah, definitely. Apart from the obvious, as in, that the interaction is now, is now virtual. So, but I think on two levels. I think there's at that level, you almost that technical level, there's a change in how we're communicating and how we are sharing learning. You know, so adapting our programs. So we've done a virtual Dream Placement Showcase this year. So there wasn't a coming together of people. You know, it was it was led on social media platforms, and it was a virtual celebration of all of those stories. We are converting workshops that we would normally run in person onto Zoom. The project scheme that I mentioned earlier, work awareness scheme, we're literally in the middle of redesigning that to create a virtual work awareness. So I suppose that's, I think that's probably an obvious way in which that interaction has changed, and it has changed very quickly. But I also think maybe the more subtle way that it's changed is, I think because we've become more open to each other, kind of more personal with each other. I think that's been a bit of a shift as well, you know, that you're seeing more of real people. And it just means that you kind of have a different kind of conversation. Yeah, if you're prepared to open up just that little bit more, share more of yourself and invite that conversation from others, yeah, then you're going to have a different kind of conversation, and that in itself will mean that you identify new things, look at different needs, and just look at different ways of resolving them.
Yeah, agreed. It has made of people a lot more. I feel like made actually is maybe the wrong word, because I feel like people were compassionate, but it's kind of a more overt sort of compassion now, isn't it?
It's okay to be compassionate. We've given ourselves permission. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I'm just aware it's past.
And I haven't answered any of your questions.
No.
I am good at that.
No, this has been so useful. I'm trying to think about what, if I was 17, what would I be thinking about? And I suppose it's hard to ask you, okay, so should they be applying to uni this year or not? Because it's going to be completely different. So you can't really, you can't really answer those questions.
No, I don't have that gift, I'm afraid. That's not not one of my talents. Yeah. I think there are some things though that will put you in good stead. I think there are some things that will apply to all of us, or most of us, in terms of what we would say, without being specific about a particular career path or a personal choice. I think it's remembering that this is new to everybody, because you're right. If you're 17 right now, you're faced with challenges that no other 17-year-old has faced, and that is where we are. And you're also faced with challenges that lots of other 17-year-olds have faced, in the past. So try not to be kind to yourself, try not to build that up into something that it's not. It is challenging, but it's also challenging for everybody. I think in previous chats or emails we've mentioned things like, how do you prepare for online recruitment, whether that's to a university or to a job. And I think the first thing I would say is remember that the person on the other end is probably as nervous as you, because in all likelihood, this will be one of the first times, if not the first time, they've conducted a recruitment process or an interview process using video technology. So try not to put too much pressure on yourself. I think that is probably what I'd say at first. We're all experiencing a degree of insecurity, and so try not to think that to make too much of it and let that get the better of you. I think open out, reach out, so for a 17-year-old, I think it's tempting, or not tempting, but natural to think that everything's stopped and everything's shut. And I think things are now starting to reopen, and people are still there. So it's about reaching out to people, asking people things, and people are. If you ask for help, or if you tell people you're interested in things, or you want to find out more about things, people generally, 99.9% of the time, respond positively. So whether that's reaching out through, your network of family or friends, and that just finding some time to speak to people, because that's probably what people have got now is time, and ask them about what they're doing, ask them about how they made their choices. Start spending some time just looking at what the options are, maybe go on to LinkedIn, which isn't maybe naturally a platform that you would choose, but it gives you an idea of what other people are talking about and a sense of how other businesses are feeling. So that in itself will give you a bigger picture and more of a perspective on what's happening. So yeah, I think, yeah, don't put too much pressure on yourself, and yeah, remember to look outwards. You know, to start to interact, to make those steps, to actually reach out, listen to people, ask for people, and that will help you to reconnect and just see what's actually happening. Because I think it is tempting or natural to build up a perception of what's happening, and it's better to kind of explore that for yourself.
So that really was great to hear Catherine's thoughts, and I really like the ending, what she says there about reaching out and using things like LinkedIn. That really is a great idea, and I really do encourage you, if you're not already sort of using LinkedIn, just go on it and look at what other people are up to, look at their own sort of career histories in their sort of on their profile, and really just listen to people, ask questions. Most of all, just try not to worry and ask for help and support. There's a lot of people out there who really do care about you a lot, and we want to support you. So please do reach out to people. So I'm going to sign off now. It's been great bringing you another video following on from my lava lamp last week. Hopefully you've enjoyed hearing a bit more about actually the reaction that was happening there. And then a bit more about me and what I have done over the last few years. A bit from Catherine as a bit of an expert on sort of how you prepare for sort of virtual recruitment processes. And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram and Facebook and even Twitter. Most of our content will be shared there, so please do follow that. The links will be coming up on the screen. And also please do get in contact with us via email, because we really do want to hear from you and support you at this time. Great talking to you. Bye.